Hey guys, welcome back to another edition here of Intuitive Angling. Really appreciate you guys making some time to watch the video. And today we're going to have a discussion on the rate of fall on your jigs and your Texas rigs and how it determines how many bites you get. This is a conversation well worth having. It's one of those things that it plays more of a role in your fishing than practically anything else when you're pitching and flipping. So I'm going to give you guys a bunch of good juice on what you need to look for on the rate of fall. And real quick before we get started here, just wanted to give you guys the weekly reminder. If you guys are interested in helping support the channel here, one of the best ways you can do it is become a member of the channel. You get extra videos every week, aren't seen by the public, access to my personal email address for your fishing questions. All you have to do is just go to the About section on my YouTube channel homepage, click on Intuitive Memberships. There's also a little button at the bottom right hand of the homepage that says, you can click it, it says Intuitive Memberships, and get you all the info there. Much appreciated. Okay guys, let's talk a little bit about the fall rate here. Now, one of the things you'll notice, and I learned this early on because I got a chance to be tutored by some really good old school jig flippers back, 40 some years ago, 45 years ago. And one of the first things these guys, these old timers taught me, they stressed the rate of fall as far as being able to generate strikes, specifically back then with jigs, but you can apply it to Texas rigs. So we're going to talk about, Texas rig and soft plastics and pitching and flipping them and jigs both. There's a lot of different factors involved to determining the size of sinker and the rate of fall that you want. Now, these factors include a large array of variables, including the water visibility, the water temperature, how deep you're fishing, the type of cover you're fishing, the mood and the personality of the bass, the light level intensity. There's a lot of factors that go into determining the rate of fall that you're wanting to look for. But what we have to have on this is you've got, like anything in bass fishing, guys, you got to have a foundation which to begin with. I can't go out and tell you, okay guys, here's the situation. You need to throw a 1/2 ounce or a 5/8 ounce jig here with a certain trailer, and this is the rate of fall that the fish want. Bass fishing doesn't work like that. But you've got to have a starting point, and then you can modify that based upon the bites you're getting or the bites you're not getting. So here's the foundation you have to remember here. First of all, in one of my big keys even over water temperatures, water clarity, I have found out that the clearer the water, the faster the fall rate that you need on your jigs and your Texas rigs. Because in clear water situations, most of the time, unless you're flipping super clear water heavy cover, which isn't very often, these fish are going to bite on the bottom. So not only the fall rate doesn't have as much to do as far as getting the strike on the way down, when it gets down there quicker, it's more efficient, and sometimes in that clear water, a fast rate of fall will generate a reaction strike from a visual of the fish. If you've got clear water, those fish can see that bait, and sometimes if it falls fast, like it's coming down fast on them right by their head, they don't have time to study it in that clear water, and they react from the speed on it. So that's the first thing that I really look for. Now, as the water visibility gets dirtier, I have found most of the time that I want a slower rate of fall. So if I'm pitching and flipping around whatever cover, docks, lay down wood, trees, grass, or something like that, as my water clarity deteriorates, my jig or my sinker size, the rate of fall I want, also gets slower. Because what happens is that water's dirtier, the fish need more time to find the bait. So when they're aware of a bait's down there, but if you've got water visibility, say 6 or 8 inches, the slower that bait is falling, the more time more times it gives those fish to get over there to actually examine the bait before they hit it. Now, the only exception to that is if you've got super hot water that's dirty and shallow, because sometimes in the middle of the summer, those fish want a faster fall because their metabolism is really fast. If you know exactly where the fish are at, say for example, if you're pitching a laydown where there's no other cover around and you know there's a fish around this log, sometimes if you got 4 inches of visibility and hot water, a faster fall can work, but not all the time. So that's just a couple different things. But in general, you need to sort of match that rate of fall to the combination of the water depth and the water clarity. Water temperature also has a factor in it. But guys, in my opinion, out of the three factors that we talked about, the water clarity, the water visibility, and the water temperature probably plays less of a factor in the fall rate out of any of those three. A lot of people say, well, yeah, if the water's cold, the fish's metabolism are cold, you need a slower falling bait. I haven't found that to be true, because once that bait hits the bottom in cold water, it's not moving much any different really if you just sort of drag it along than it is if it's a light sinker. So out of those three, I consider the water temperature probably the least important, unless it's during that middle of the summer when it's really hot like that. Another thing you have to consider on rate of fall is the type of cover that you're fishing. And because the rate of fall, sometimes in the cover, it will generate strikes, and it either gives you more efficiency or takes away your efficiency. So say, for example, if you're fishing super gnarly thick cover, like thick grass or thick bushes or something like that, where your bait is actually hanging over some type of a branch where it's going vertical down in like that, sometimes in a situation like that too, the rate of fall is dependent upon the water clarity. So and it's the same thing, if the water's clear and I'm in super heavy cover, I want that bait to go down pretty quick. I'm not expecting to get those fish to hit it on the way down, but if the water's dirty, say I'm fishing a flooded willow tree and you've got this much water visibility and the water's 4 feet deep, that is when I want a slow fall, because in a situation like that, those fish may be suspended high in the water column, halfway down, or on the bottom, and a slower fall like that gives me more opportunities. But ultimately, one of the big things on rate of fall, aside from the fact of generating the strike, is the sheer matter of efficiency. The rate of fall also, when you're talking about efficiency, you have to consider things like the wind speed and how much cover you have to fish. Now, for example, like I said, I was down at Grand Lake today flipping willow trees and bushes. There were hundreds and hundreds of them. It's like every 2 feet there was a different bush. So in a situation like that, you can't take time to pick every single bush apart with a slow bait, because you'd never cover any water. So I opt for a heavier presentation, a faster fall. I'm in and out of that bush, and I can go to the next one, and I'm after the aggressive fish. So that's one factor there. A lot of it, guys, doesn't matter. It's just a matter, and the same with the wind too. The wind, a lot of times, if you've got, say for example, you're catching them on a 5/8 ounce jig or a 3/8 ounce jig, and the wind starts blowing 25 miles an hour, obviously you need to go to a heavier jig just to be more efficient too. So a lot of this together, it depends on a wide range of variables, but you need to pay close attention to it. And the most important time that you have to keep it, in my opinion, the most important time you have to consider rate of fall is if you're pitching and flipping around some type of vertical cover, like a piling or a standing timber or dock piling, something where that bait is falling down, but it's a clean piece of cover, like next to the edge of a stump or something like that. When you don't have anything to interrupt the fall of that bait down there, that is when you really have to key in on the rate of fall. And this is especially true if you're dealing with water visibility of less than 2 feet, and also if you're dealing with any type of cover that is not really gnarly. That's a really important thing to remember. So guys, a lot of the times it's just a matter of experimentation. I've seen times where I've caught them on an 1/8 ounce jig, like I've taken like a 1/4 ounce jig and filed the head down where it's barely sinking like that, and other times they want a 1 ounce jig. So ultimately it's a matter of just experimentation. And one thing you can do, and this is sort of my guideline on it, if I get into an area where I'm getting a few bites, say I'm pitching a 3/8 ounce jig, I'm getting a few bites, but they're maybe just 1.5 pound fish. If I'm wanting to upgrade the size of that fish, a lot of times I'll either slow the rate of fall down or speed it up. I don't stay with the same. When you're talking about generating strikes from bigger fish, a lot of times you don't know if it's the rate of fall or the color of the lure or the angle of your cast. It could be a wide range of things, but the rate of fall definitely plays a big rate. So Anyway, guys, overall, just to reiterate like that, water visibility, water clarity, type of cover, water depth, all figures into it. Experiment a little bit with it. There's no complete right or wrong answers. There's some starting points you can have, and just keep changing up and keep trying different stuff until you hit on the things that are producing the better bites. So anyway, I hope that answered a few questions, maybe get you a few more bites with your jigs and soft plastics. We'll talk to you guys later. See you.